Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a competitive card game, and just like any other competitive card game, it has its own meta. Typically, for most card games, maybe Pokemon is an exclusion, but typically the meta decks do have a certain price point that can price out its player base. So was thinking, as a returning Yu-Gi-Oh player that's been out of the competitive scene realistically since I think 2015, 2016, I wanted to see how far $50 could get me. We're doing a budget experiment, if you would. $50 would be the main deck, the extra deck, and the side deck. Um, and the reason why I picked $50 is, as far as like a budget player, whether or not you can only spend $25 every 2 weeks or $25 a month, I think you could have a fully competitive deck within 2 months of starting the game off. Um, Back when I was younger, I when I was getting into the game, my mom bought me a Legendary Collections Joey's World, and at that time, I didn't understand structure decks. Okay, I built a Harpies deck purely from pulling from Legendary Collections Joey's World, and the only reason why I was able to even buy a Legendary Collection Joey's World is because it was my birthday, and my mom asked me what I wanted. I had like a $100 to $200 limit on what I can get, and I ended up racking up 5 Joey's Worlds. Looking back on it, probably should have never done that. However, opening those packs, seeing the nostalgia cards, where it's like Guilford the Lightning, um, Elegant Egotist, all these like nostalgic cards, and not to mention like you had like a bunch of hollows in those mega packs. It definitely relit my love for the game. So at that time, me and my buddy, when we got into the game, he did the same thing I did. He bought a bunch of packs, and we kind of just played with bulk. There was really no rhyme or reason. I mean, of course, the more we got into it, the strategies started, filling themselves out. Like I realized, like, hey, I should focus more on one archetype than having a bunch of different like boss monsters in one deck. So that's when I took all my Legendary Collection Joey World cards and I built a somewhat playable Harpy deck. He, on the other hand, uh, was a bit more strategic with it, or I guess you could say like had a better understanding on, hey, I'm buying all these random packs of cards. I'm never gonna have a cohesive strategy, and he purchased structure decks, which I don't know if you guys are anything like me, but if your friends bought a structure deck, you didn't buy the same one, so it's not a boring mirror match every time you played. You always bought the opposite one. But I didn't do that because this is when we were like young teenagers. Like I'm talking about like sophomore year. We weren't working. The fact we were able to get anything was because of our parents. So I just stuck with my Harpy strategy. Anytime I ain't got any money, I just put it into the Harpy strategy, which took a long time because at the time in 2014, 2015, Harpies weren't the cheapest. They really weren't. But he bought the Fire King structured. Now, back in the day, getting sent to the graveyard felt like a nightmare, and Garunix was just able to blow up your field, I think, like every other turn or something like that, during every other standby phase. And I thought with this series, we're doing like a budget series here where we're going to try to spend $50. And I want to get back into competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! And I thought, what deck should we pick up? Obviously, there's a lot of there's a handful of meta decks you could probably play. Not the best variant, around $50, give or take. Or you can go with a rogue strategy. Sometimes rogue decks, because of staples, do shoot the prices up of those cards. So I decided to actually just move forward with Fire King because if anyone's been paying attention, with Fire King, it's got a retrained structure deck, which I'm sure everyone's aware of. But a few things that people may not be fully aware of is Yu-Gi-Oh's been doing these things like back in the day with Rarity Collection. Not back in the day. What am I talking about? Like 5 years ago, Rarity Collection. They made like 5 of them. You know, they got away with naming a few of them not Rarity Collection, but it's Rarity Collection. And they made a Rarity Collection. I think it was number 3. Was that Stampede? Or no. Number 3 was Bonanza. They got Bonanza, so they reprinted a few cards for Fire Kings in there. Which, even though the structure deck, you're guaranteed the card, because they reprinted some of the Fire King cards in Bonanza, it made the prices of those cards go down even that much more. And then they did the same thing in Stampede. They actually reprinted, I believe, the extra deck Boss Monster for the Fire Kings in that one. And I'm talking like cards that were probably like $1 or 90 cents because they only had one printing from the structure deck are now like 5 cents, 8 cents, 10 cents. So I was thinking of maybe like a cohesive strategy where you could potentially win because of like there's actually a win condition with this rogue deck. It's not a pile, it's a straight archetype. And what better deck could I build where I could have some money left over to get cheap reprinted staples? And again, not every deck in Yu-Gi-Oh is going to cost an arm and a leg, especially when this company, Konami, keeps reprinting all of our staples over and over and over. Like, I can't tell you how many Nibiru printings I have seen, because when I was getting out of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, I think that's back when like the 2018 2019 Megatens dropped, and they had the promo packs in them, which, by the way, Konami, if you're listening to this, that was the best tens you've ever made, with the promo like randomized packs, like getting a Regeki and Nibiru. I mean, sure, Egyptian gods, whatever, but Dark Ruler No More, like, amazing. Like, those cards had value to them. You don't really do the same thing. Like, sure, printing a Starlight in every pack now is great, but that's a story for another day. Where I'm going with this is, I realistically think that just for anyone getting into the game, I think we could work together. I think we can build a community. I think we can brainstorm on how to make cheap, competitive decks that even like a beginner can learn how to play. Like I said, I've been out of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh for 4 years now, but I never stopped collecting. Like, I've built so many decks, or like collections of decks. Even if I haven't played them, they're there. And I just think this would be a really fun experiment. Like, how far can I stretch the dollar to build a competitive deck? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably, this is what I'm thinking I'm going to do, because Master Duel is a mess on its own. I'm going to build the deck on Master Duel. I'm going to play test during the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so somewhere in the ballpark, right? In the middle of the week, we're going to play test on Master Duel. And then, because of my state where I live, we have a Discord. I don't want to leak it, because I don't want people piling in there that's not from here, and people that actually live out of the state can't get in there and play. But because of where I live, they have an online community on the weekends for remote duels, and they actually give prizing, like play mats and booster boxes and actual packs, OTS packs. I think they mail them to you. I've never competed myself. I have the Discord server just because, like maybe I will try to hop in there and play and see how far I can get and get washed round one, But that's the end goal. I want to see how far we can push it. I want to get back into the competitive scene. I want to stretch the dollar as far as possible. So that's gonna be the premise. I'm gonna call this episode 0. Is epilogue the right word? I don't know. But yeah, the goal, $50. Build a competitive deck. I'm gonna go with Fire Kings as my deck, my archetype. See how far I can get with the budget of 50. Maybe every month we add another 50 to the pile. I don't know. I mean, really, I think 50 in today's economy is a budget. Is budget for Yu-Gi-Oh? Sure. Some people can build decks on $15, $20, right? But I don't necessarily know if that's going to get you far, especially in how fast-paced this game is. But yeah, that's the premise. I hope you guys are excited for what's to come. I think the next video we are going to build the deck through TCG Player, and then we're going to talk about like our reasonings and options on what we picked out. But that's what's going to happen. $50 budget deck. See how far we get in the competitive scene. I'm going to film the games and everything too. But yeah, thank you guys. Please hit the follow and like, subscribe.